So I should be live on LinkedIn. So let's check LinkedIn to see if I'm live there. And I'm thirsty. Go to my profile. I'm not sure if I'm live. Yes, I am. Okay, looks like I am. Okay. So I'm gonna go, yeah, I'm live now on LinkedIn, on Twitch, and I guess on YouTube. I'm just gonna grab a drink. Okay. This table is getting too small. So, hey everybody on YouTube, welcome to the stream. So what was I talking about? About the fact that a lot of businesses don't really have a decent structure when it comes to document management. And I want to show you what Microsoft thinks about that, because I think it's interesting to mention all of that. Let's see, I'm just gonna go to their information. This is really interesting to see. And if we're talking about information architecture, it's really what we put on SharePoint, right? That's what we're going to talk about. That's what I want to show you. Why not? You can see everything there. Okay. I'm just going to check if I'm live on YouTube. Just a moment. Checking YouTube. Yeah, I am live. Very good. Very good. Looks good actually. I need to update my logo. I'm live here as well. I can actually see the chat here, right? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So hey everybody on TikTok, tell me, where are you from? Where are you watching from? Where are you in the world? What kind of questions do you have for me and about what we do? Yes, it's about AI, it's about automation, it's about a lot of stuff. It's also about document management, it's also about information architecture. And this is what I want to talk to you about. So, if you're looking at document management, if you're looking at information architecture, there's a couple of things that, and I think I made, yes, here we are. Cool. So, wait, let me show you this, because I was like preparing the stream to talk about things. Hey, devoted DLL, you're from the UK. Cool. Welcome to the stream. I'm here in Belgium. How are you? And what I'm talking about, is that a little bit interesting? I don't know. I hope so, because that's the audience I want to attract, people that are interested in how we do things, how we streamline business processes, how we optimize information architecture, and all of that jazz. So I want to switch to this. I want to switch to this. And I want to talk about this. Do you see this? Wait, let me check here on TikTok. You can see this definitely on YouTube, but I just want to make sure you can see it as well, at least a little bit on. So, Devoted, I'm good, thanks. Very interested in streamlining processes and document management. Cool, then you're definitely at the right place. Do you have your own business? That's already an important question that I have for sure. Do you have your own business? You have your own business, perfect. What kind of business is it? Because I would say that everybody that has a specific business can definitely use this, right? It doesn't really matter if you're small, if you're big, everybody can use these kind of things. And what I did here, like what I show you here, you have an apparels and gifts business, so retail. Cool. We just started a new project with a company that sells olive oil on their website and so on. So pretty much very retail, and they need the same things. They need the same kind of streamlined sales processes, document management and whatnot. So that's what we are doing for them, right? What I did here, this is actually part of one of the processes. It's a bit hard to see on TikTok, but if you go to YouTube, you can see the full screen. But what I did here actually was this. So I asked Copilot to create a PowerPoint presentation based on this summary here. And this summary comes from a summary of the information from Microsoft, right? And also our own information, my own experience, right? Devoted, you do UK manufacturing and offshore import. Oh wow. Then it's already a pretty big business, I imagine. How many people are there? Are you the owner? So I asked Copilot, the AI tool in Microsoft 365, to create a PowerPoint presentation from this overview. And this overview contains all the elements that I actually want to talk about during this stream and maybe the next stream as well, based on how long we can go on. Devoted, you have 15 people in your business and you're the owner. I'm very glad that you're here. It's a surprise to me that we already have somebody that is a business owner on this stream. It was a very ad hoc stream to get started for me because it's been a while. I think it's been over a month that we have gone live with this, but I'm very happy that you are here. Devoted, do I call you Devoted or do I call you something else? If you want to share your first name, that's always cool. My name is Stefan. So I'm Stefan, I'm the owner of Titanify. So what I did here, I used Copilot and it came up with a pretty cool presentation, right? And I'm gonna put it here in the middle. Hey Dev, that's why, Devoted. Hey Dev, welcome to the stream. Nice to meet you. Awesome. So what are some of the best practices for information architecture of a SharePoint intranet? Now, I want to actually remove intranet because it's not always just the intranet that you need to set up, right? It's everything, all your information that you have in your SharePoint, in your Microsoft 365 account. Because if you look at the structure of Microsoft 365, all your documents are actually getting stored in SharePoint, even the ones from OneDrive, because basically OneDrive, on the back end of that, if you store something on OneDrive, these are actually files that exist in a personal SharePoint site. That is something that it's historically grown like that. I'm not even sure if I can show you this here. Because this is more a test environment, so let me go to my own environment. Let's see if I can pull up like a file and then I will show you the URL so you can see. This is pretty technical already. I don't want to go deep diving into the technical stuff, but it's just important to understand. that's part of it, right? In your information architecture, OneDrive is part of that. So if I would go and open, let's say, I don't know, maybe this one. Let's open. Can I open this one? I want to see the link actually. I can actually copy the link. So this is just an invoice. Yeah, okay. This is actually interesting that you can see right here. So you can see in the URL, it goes to titanifymy.sharepoint.com. So it is pretty clear that your OneDrive files exist in SharePoint, but it is inside a personal site, right? It's a personal site inside SharePoint that is only personal to you, to your account, right? So you can see here it's a personal site and it's on my name, basically. So this is where your OneDrive files exist. That's why I say that if we want to talk about best practices for information architecture, it should be about SharePoint. It should be about even I would say about Microsoft 365, right? Because if you think about where is your information? So Dev, if I ask you, Dev, in your business, you have 15 people in your business. Where is your information? On which places, on which tools do you store your information? Do you use Microsoft 365? Do you use Google Drive? Do you use several tools where all the information is all over the place? Or you use Dropbox? Okay. I'm laughing a little bit because Dropbox is of course a common one that a lot of businesses use. But I would say there's better alternatives to Dropbox, especially if you use Word documents. If you use Office documents and you store those on Dropbox, I would say there is a better alternative to that, which is SharePoint and OneDrive. You say that you use a little bit of OneDrive. Good. So you have Microsoft 365 already. So the question then would be, what do you use OneDrive for and what do you use Dropbox for? Or why do you still use Dropbox if you have OneDrive, for example? That's always a good question or something to ask yourself if you have these tools. And there can be many reasons, don't get me wrong. These can be very good reasons, right? But it's important to really think about that because, and I have to go. So, really interesting already. I mean, I love it. I'm going to go back to this point of view because I really want to talk to this camera a little bit more. Then I can also see the chat right here. So, you use Dropbox like it's your file server. So Dropbox, you say, is like our file server. I took over our local server years ago. And you are 1 year with Microsoft 365. Okay. So I'm sure that you use Dropbox like a file server. There's a lot of folders in there and subfolders and documents and all of that. Then the next question would be, okay, you use it as a file server. You have Microsoft 365. So the documents that you use on Dropbox, do you collaborate on them? Or is it just storage? Or how do you use the information that is in Dropbox? Do you store everything in there? Or is it just a part of the business? How does it look like? That's always also a good question for me to ask business owners, because if I suggest something, I need to understand why you do what you do right now. And then we can talk about what is the solution or what might be a better solution. Because if you think about your information architecture, there is part of the information itself, which is the documents, but the other part is also how you communicate around this kind of information, right? If you need to communicate and collaborate a lot on documents, then it's definitely a better choice to choose something like Microsoft 365, right? You also use Google Docs for parts of business. Wow, okay, okay. Again, historically grown, a lot of businesses historically grow piece by piece, and they start with maybe Dropbox, or they start with this file server, right? And then they grow and they add a tool, or they add Dropbox, and then they add maybe Google Drive, and then they add this tool and that tool. And at a certain point, you have like a whole range of tools that you use to do a couple of things, right? As you say, also using Monday.com for last year. So you can already imagine if people see this, if you think about it, all your processes in your business at this stage use many different tools, right? And while that is okay, that might not change that much, but I would say it is important that within all these processes, you try to at least centralize the information, you centralize the storage, and you centralize the communication around all this information that you need to execute your processes. You find Google Sheets better than Excel for shared sheets, can see live updates. Well, okay, but did you know that if you store your Excel sheets on SharePoint, you can also see live updates from other people changing anything in your Excel sheets, right? That is one of the biggest reasons why people should move to Microsoft 365. Because if you collaborate a lot on documents, like on Excel sheets, you should definitely put everything in 365 and not on Dropbox, because on Dropbox you cannot collaborate as much as you can on 365. And in 365, it is natively added into the functionality of Excel, Word, Outlook. I mean, all the Office documents, the information, you can collaborate on that in real time, at the same time, with 10 different people on the same document. So, knowing that, Dev, we've had issues in both Google Docs and Excel when one user is editing, another is filtering data. Gotcha, okay. That is another thing, of course. Like if you are collaborating on the same file and somebody is editing something and somebody else is actually doing the filtering, that could be an issue. Now, then I have another question for you, Dev. Why are you using Excel? What are you doing in Excel? What kind of process involves doing all of these things in Excel? Right? Is it project management? Is it product inventory management? What do you use the Excel for? Because with that answer, if I know what you do with it, then and the issue is that so it's a simple sheet, it's a product list with list of barcodes. Okay. So you have this simple information, okay? The issue is that you want to change, maybe update barcodes or whatever, but at the same time somebody else is like trying to filter out some of the products, I'm guessing. So you have different people with different ways of working on this information. Okay. Then I would say a solution to that would be to move away from Excel and move to lists in SharePoint. Why? Because then you're not working on a file anymore. You are working in SharePoint on a list. Like you use Monday.com, well, the same principle, you can use lists in Monday.com as well, probably. But the fact in SharePoint is that you store the data in this kind of list. You can create a list based on an Excel, right? You can do that very easily. And then there is the list, and then anybody can use the list as they feel fit. So if somebody is filtering the list at the same time that you are changing some of the data, it doesn't interfere with each other, right? Because everybody has their own view of the data in the lists. Let me show you. That would be a good example here, because I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure if you've ever used lists before, Dev, but that's why I want to show you this, because I think it's important. Because I can talk about this for days, but if I don't show it, it's a little bit hard to understand what actually I'm doing here. So I'm gonna go here again. So if I show you, yeah, not a lot of people have used lists before because they don't know that it's there, and that's also part of the problem, I would say, with a lot of business owners, that they don't know what they don't know, which is fine because you're not actually an expert in all of these things, and you don't really have the time to figure out every single solution that is there. But that's why we are here. That's why we do what we do, because we know these kind of solutions, and I think it's interesting. You will find it definitely interesting. So let me go in here. So I'm going to go into SharePoint. So I'm going to go into SharePoint, and let me just go into my lab environment. So this is SharePoint, right? This is SharePoint, and I'm going to move my screen a little bit so you can see. If you are in SharePoint on the left-hand side, you have the option. You should see things like this. This is the site of the Titanify lab, and I can actually create a new list here, right? So I can create a new list, and in SharePoint these days, they have changed the functionality a little bit to be more user-friendly. So you can create a list from Excel, as I said, right? You can just take your Excel that you're already using and import it, and it will create a list for you with the same columns, with the same data. So it's just an import of your Excel, but it turns into a list, right? And a list, you can create lists from templates, as you can see here, and it can be anything. You can compare it if you've ever used in the past something like Access. Have never been a big fan of Access, Microsoft Access. If you're old enough to know that tool, it was a database tool from Microsoft, a lightweight database tool where you could create tables and whatnot, and even create some application with it. It wasn't the best, right? So imagine that. Yeah, long time ago, Dev, I know. I'm definitely still also old enough to know that shit. But yeah, this is actually Access inside SharePoint. Just the lists part, and you can also combine lists together. You can refer one list to another. This is the simple way to manage data in SharePoint, right? It's a simple way. There is more advanced ways that you can manage data inside Microsoft 365 and actually inside Dynamics 365 and the Dataverse, but that's for another stream. Now, let me just say, so you have, for instance, you have your products. So let's see if we can have something here. What could be product support metrics? I'm not sure if that's the thing, but maybe asset manager. Yeah, that's the thing. Let's take this asset manager as a template. So this is an example how it will look like. So we're just going to use it. It's all good. We're going to add the list inside the site. So we're going to add that inside the site of SharePoint, and this is what we get, right? We can expand this, so we can actually open this inside the lists app of Microsoft 365. There is a lists app, as you can see here, lists as a separate app inside the 365 environment, right? So we have created this list now. It took me, what, a couple of seconds, and we have all of these kind of things, the columns here, and I can just add a new item if I want to, right? I can add an image here, I can add a value here, so let's do that. And the status, it's in use, manufacturer, whatever, a model, I don't know, asset type, it's a tablet. You see, you can mix and match a lot of these kind of things based on your own processes, based on your own data. And if I save it, it's in here. So it's immediately visualized. You can use colors, you can use a lot of ways to make the user interface very useful for anybody that needs to use this data. So let me just add another item here, whatever, and it's reserved, and it's Microsoft, it is accessory, color is black, okay, right? And here you can see serial number. You could just add a barcode in here as well if you wanted to. So the good thing about this is that you can just move these things around, these columns as well. You can see, I just move this column here, and I want to move this back, and it's saved immediately. It is saved immediately. So anybody that would be using this can see also the views. But you can add a view, you have an asset gallery view. So within the same list, you can create a view like this one, right? Try to do that in Excel, right? So this is super, super useful. If you want a simple way of managing data inside SharePoint, right? That's what we use lists for. And especially in your case, Dev, I would say this is a better solution than your Excel sheet, right? Because it's not a file, and because it's not a file, you don't need to worry about corrupting the file or losing the file or creating more copies of the same file, or if somebody is updating the file and somebody else, you don't need to worry about that, because this is not a file anymore. This is just data that you stored inside your list. So it's basically a database that you created and that exists in SharePoint, right? So I think as well, Dev, that it looks good as a different solution to what you're doing right now. And also the good thing, I don't know if you use Teams or anything like that, but the good thing is that you can just move it into Teams as well. You can add here, I can go into lists, for example. So you can access this list wherever you are, which is pretty cool as well. So I save here, okay, and then I can say, show me a specific list, so an existing list, and this is the asset manager that I just added here. So I can just visualize the same list inside Teams. So then it becomes also very easy for everybody to access the list and to also access the communication about it and the files and so on and so on. And you see it like this, So it's the same thing. You see the same visualization. You have all your filters here that you can use. So yeah, you can do this, and it's real time again. You can group same features as you have like in Excel for sure, but it's on a list. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show you. Hey, Baffin the Beaver. What a name, what a name. So Dev, I hope that was a little bit interesting for you to see. Baffin the Beaver, Stefan Hulsbosch? Nee. Stefan de Vreese, that's my name. Yeah, no worries, Dev. Always happy to talk about these things and to show what is possible in Microsoft 365. And there's much, much, much more to be said about all of this, and there's much more to be shown, but this is just, no worries, Dev. Happy that you were here. Hope you got something from that. Have a nice weekend. And if you ever want any other information, just hit me up on TikTok or on LinkedIn or anywhere else. that you can find me. Have a nice evening. So yeah, cool stuff. Cool stuff to talk about, and I'm happy that I was able to show that. I think this is going to be interesting for everybody anyway. So let's see if I can now see my chat here. No, nothing in chat here, but that's fine. So let's go back to the information architecture. Let's go back there. So I'm going to go back to this one right here. Okay, and I have to switch now to this one. Okay. So, and here I'm going to switch to this. Voilà. So the best practices for information architecture of 365. I think one of the main things for sure is understanding your users. And just as I said before, when I was demoing a little bit the lists feature in SharePoint, you have to think about who are your users, right? Who are your team members? What do they need? What kind of information do they use? How do they find it? How do they search for it? All these questions you need to know the answers to before you can implement an information architecture that actually makes sense. If you are creating an information architecture like many businesses have done until now, which is like just a file server architecture, meaning you have a lot of folders and subfolders and sub-subfolders. If you create something like that in SharePoint or OneDrive, I'll stop using OneDrive actually as a reference because it confuses people. It's SharePoint, right? If we're talking about storing information that needs to be shared with other people, that you need to collaborate on, it's SharePoint. It's not going to be OneDrive. OneDrive is inside SharePoint. OneDrive exists inside SharePoint. It's an app you access inside SharePoint. Technically speaking, that is how it is. So if anybody tells you, oh, well, we use OneDrive, but we don't use SharePoint, they're lying because they don't know how it works, because OneDrive is inside SharePoint. So it is important to understand, because otherwise we're not talking about the same thing, and people mistaking the functionality of OneDrive and thinking that they cannot do stuff with Microsoft 365 because OneDrive is not allowing them, but they don't know that SharePoint could allow it, like sharing files more easily, inviting guests to your environment without opening your full library and all of those. Anyway, so working in folders is not an architecture. Well, it is, but it's a bad one. It's a file server mentality, and it's just shit. You know, it's old school, and while a lot of people are used to it, I don't think it's future-proof. Also because searching information is a big part of your day-to-day job, of your daily actions. And if you have to search through hundreds of folders to really find what you're looking for, I don't think that's a good idea. But that's your user. Your users are there, you know, that's what your users are doing. So if you understand how your users are looking at this technology, are using these tools, and how they behave, then you can find solutions like I just did with Dev. I understood what he was doing, I understood what he needed, so I can present a solution that's actually better than he was using before, right? And this is what you need to do every single time. That's what we do, right? So once you know your users, then you need to define a clear navigation structure. Why, why would you start with a navigation structure? I guess it's, I mean, we're talking here about what would you do in your SharePoint in the first place and in 365 in general. Well, if you go into 365 to start, right? If you start with the home page, and let me use my demo environment because I don't want to share too much of what we have. Well, there's not a lot of information here, but if you start with your home page of 365, right? Then you have everything here. And one of the things that anybody that has a license can already do is search something, right? You can start searching files in here. That's part of your navigation, basically. If you explain people how to find something in 365, they should start with here, with the home page, with the search. But if you have information, you can also see, this is now my environment, you can see there are already files popping up here that Microsoft recommends to me. So stuff that I have been working on, sites that I have been working on, and so on and so on. So in terms of navigation, Microsoft already helps you a lot, right? Also, even if you click in the search button, you can see some stuff popping up here, like files that I have been working on the last couple of hours. So maybe, probably, I still need to use some of these. I need to work on them. So it's easy to get back to. So that's the first piece. Then, if you then think about how will people find more information, search is a big part of it, but at the same time, you would want people to understand that within just a few clicks, you can find your information, just as you did when you had a folder structure. Because within a folder structure, right, you would go to your into your Explorer here, and you would just click around and go to the right kind of folder. You see here, right? So I know more or less where I need to go in my folders. So the same way, it's the same way in 365. You should know more or less where you need to go to find the information. And if we're talking about SharePoint then, okay, let's go to SharePoint, right? Because we know that the information is there. And also here we get the help from Microsoft to, just need to open this a little bit more so you can see this. So we get the help from Microsoft because we can follow sites. So we have our intranet, for example, or we have specific sites for customers, right? And we can go into that site, and then we have the information and we have the navigation that can help us out, right? So this behaves like a site. So if you are storing information inside SharePoint, you need to think as they are sites, right? Each container that you would create in SharePoint is basically a site. So if you create a navigation for your site that is good, then people will be, I mean, they will find that information pretty quickly. Even if it's documents, right? So I can go back to the start page and I can go into, let's say, I don't know, this one, BNI stuff. Then I come to a site that is all about collaboration, right? So I know that this site contains the information, it contains the documents, and I can just quickly click on the navigation, the local navigation, to go to these files. And then I have here my channels, which represent folders. So yes, Microsoft is still using folders for sure, but they are related to channels in Teams. And then I can go in here and I can find my information, okay? So I know that if I go to the site and I click on documents, that I will find the information. So I don't necessarily need to use search at that stage. And this is how you need to think also for every single site that you have. Now, there's another element that plays into this, and that is Teams, because with Teams, you can also set up your structure on the left-hand side right here. So what we do, for example, is we create teams per customer and then channels to support whatever we need to talk about, whatever information that we need to save on that. That's how we use it. In the backend, it uses SharePoint as well, right? Now, Teams will offer you more functionality that you can also talk about some of these things, some of these topics, right? So it's an extra layer on top of SharePoint. But also in terms of navigation, if you structure your teams well enough, then it's very easy for people to find or to go to this specific location that they know that the information is there. If you would create teams for abstracts, topics, and you create a team, you would create a team for meetings for this customer. You could say, okay, customer meetings or whatever, and abstracts, ad hoc teams, then this will become a mess as well, right? Right, like this one and a test one and then another one and then whatever, you know? It becomes a mess. So that's why using a naming convention, adding a C in front of it, and adding numbers to your channels and all of that helps the user to navigate towards the right kind of information, which is super important here, right? So that part of the navigation, these are all parts of the navigation that you need to take into account. I'm just checking here if everything is working still. Good. I'm getting hungry, so I'm not gonna last too much longer here on this stream. But this was a test anyway to see if everything has been able, if I'm able to set it up pretty quickly again. So we're almost on the hour actually. So actually it's a good way to end this right now. 1 hour stream, perfect. We will do a longer one, don't worry. We will do a longer one again very soon. We have been building Titanify the last couple of weeks, months. We have been building it a lot, and I'm happy to say that we have been growing pretty quickly, and that we have a team in place now, around 4, 5, 6 people, I think. Next week, 6 definitely. And it means that it allows me to get a little bit of my time back to do these things, to do these kind of streams, to talk about what we are doing for our customers, to give you more information, to give more explanation what is possible within 365. And that really is important because there's a lot of information out there, but at the same time, I would say it's a lot of unpractical information, or outdated information, outdated videos about how to do things in 365. They do not talk about the practical way of using 365. They don't talk about the processes. Talking about processes is so important because if you just look at the tool itself, like at SharePoint or at Teams and so on, it's a cool tool, but if you do not align that with your processes, it's going to be shit anyway, you know? Like with any tool, like if you use Dropbox, if you use Google Drive, if you use Monday.com, whatever tool that you use, if you do not align that with your processes, they're not going to help you. They're just going to be an extra layer of tasks that you add for yourself or for your team, an extra location to gather information or to store information, and it's not integrated, it's not aligned, it's not streamlined, and you're going to get stuck very quickly. So thank you, Julian, for your rose. I'll be back very soon. I'll be with you very soon, let's say that like that. So It's on the hour. I'm going to stop right here. Thank you everybody for watching this stream, for being here again. I hope you enjoyed it, this little short stream. We will be back again in this kind of setting to talk much more about Microsoft 365, streamlining processes, automating processes, using AI to enhance your productivity and all of that other jazz, all that other shit. So, have a nice weekend, have a nice evening, and I'll see you